Hello students, my name is Hemant Singh and I'll be taking your chemistry for class 11th and 12th. Okay, so how are you all? I hope you are safe and healthy back in your houses, and now after so many days of break, let's resume our studies as everything seems to be on track now, slowly and slowly. So let's begin with chapter 3 of your class 12, that is electrochemistry. And in electrochemistry we will be taking on the topic laws of electrolysis. Okay, what is laws of electrolysis? Now these laws of electrolysis were given by Faraday, scientist named Faraday, who has done lots of work on electromagnetic induction in physics, which we studies in physics, and laws of and many things involving current and flow of electrons, flow of ions and all. So this was given by scientist named Faraday. He was a great scientist who has done lots of work on concepts related to electrochemistry and electric current also. Okay? So his first law, let's look at first law. What does Faraday has said about the first law? The first law states that weight of ion deposited at electrode during electrolysis is directly proportional to the amount of charge passed through the electrolytic solution, So this is what is Faraday's first law. Weight of an ion deposited at an electrode. See, weight of ion will be denoted by capital W. Deposited at an electrode. Obviously, electrodes from the aqueous solution, ions will accept electrons and undergo reduction and will be deposited at electrode, or specifically say at which electrode, that is cathode. During electrolysis, that is, lysis means breakdown and electro means electricity. So breakdown of electrolytes in presence of electricity is known as electrolysis. So how much weight will be deposited during electrode? It is directly proportional to the amount of charge which will be passed through the electrolytic solution. In the electrolytic solution, whatever will be the amount of charge, that is current and time. So charge is denoted by Q. Okay? Charge, it is denoted by Q. So whatever will be the weight deposited, it is proportional to whatever is the charge passed through the solution. So we can say, according to first law, weight of ion is directly proportional to charge passed through it. Okay? This is our electrolytic cell, in which we have two electrodes. Clear? In which we have two electrodes like this, and this contains some electrolytic solution. Suppose aqueous NaCl, simple water solution, dilute H2SO4, dilute NaCl, dilute NaOH, H2SO4, HCl, or KCl, ammonium sulfate, potassium sulfate, any electrolysis, and obviously it is connected to a battery, and when this resumes passing current, so whatever will be the deposition at cathode, whatever will be the deposition on this cathode is directly proportional to charge passed through it. Now Q, charge, how much charge is passed through it is given by weight, amount of current passed, and for how much duration it is passed. So Q is equal to IT. If we wish to find total charge total charge, that is Q, it will be I into T. That is how much ampere of current is flown for how much duration of time. That value, product of these two, will give you charge. Okay, got it? So weight of ion deposited is directly proportional to charge, that is current passed and how much time it is passed. Now we'll remove this proportionality sign. So formula we'll get is Z, constant is Z, and ZIT. So this is mathematical relation of Faraday's first law. This is theoretical explanation and this is mathematically expressed. Faraday's first law is mathematically expressed, that is W is equal to ZIT, where Z is known as, or we can first let's discuss about the simple things. Time is always to be taken in seconds, whether in question it is mentioned in hours or any unit, minutes or anything, but for finding the weight of ion we need to express time in seconds. Obviously current is to be expressed in amperes, and Z is known as electrochemical equivalent. Z is known as electrochemical equivalent. Z is known as electrochemical equivalent. Okay, clear till now? It's clear. Let's see a demonstration, a pictorial demonstration of first law of electrolysis of Faraday's. Okay? So see, this is an electrolytic cell. The whole construction will be known as electrolytic cell. Positive terminal, electrode connected to the positive terminal will be known as anode, and electrode connected to the negative terminal will be known as cathode. Oxidation occurs at anode beta. Anode oxidation. And at cathode reduction occurs. Reduction. How can we remember if it's confusing? Well, conceptually you can understand and it will never be a miscommunication regarding this concept, but AO or CR, simple trick, AO or CR for remembering that oxidation occurs at anode and reduction occurs at cathode. So let's see what happens. Whatever will be the ions will be oxidized from anode, they will come into the electrolytic solution, and these ions will gain electron from cathode, and you can see they are getting deposited at cathode. See, this is getting, ions are getting deposited around cathode. That is, this is the cathode, so ions are getting deposited on it. They are getting reduced and they are getting attached to it, deposited. Now this deposition will increase over the time. For how much duration we will continue this electrolysis process, this deposition will keep on increasing and increasing. Get it? So weight of ion, whatever is the weight of ion, suppose before electrolysis our anode was weighing, before electrolysis I am saying, suppose our anode was weighing 10 grams and cathode was also weighing 10 grams. Before electrolysis we have weighed them on a weighing scale, and at that time anode was weighing 10 gram and cathode was also weighing 10 grams. Now after electrolysis, for suppose, now time duration is, for suppose we have 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, anode has reduced to 5 gram because ions have been getting oxidized from anode. They get oxidized and released into the electrolytic solution. From electrolytic solution, they are getting reduced and attached to cathode. So this becomes 5 gram. This becomes 5 gram, whereas 5 gram will be accepted by, and this will become 15 gram. So whatever is the loss at anode, it's not necessary that all of the ions released from anode are getting collected at cathodes. Anode might release different types of ions, but not all ions will be reduced at the same time. They will be reduced according to their position in the electrochemical series, which we have already discussed in the initial lectures, that whose standard reduction potential is more, that will get reduced, or that will get more priority for reduction at cathode. Suppose we have copper also and silver also. So silver will get reduced first and copper will get reduced only after all of the silver from the solution has been exhausted or reduced and deposited at cathode. So suppose we have only copper ions. So copper ions oxidized from anode, released in the electrolytic solution, and they will get reduced and deposited at cathode. So 5 gram worth of ions from anode are released in the solution. So 5 gram will get reduced and attached to the. Now if we will increase the time duration, suppose after 20 minutes whole of the anode will be oxidized and all that copper ions released from anode will be deposited at cathode. So whatever will be, if we increase the time duration, more will be the deposition, that is weight of cathode. Now if we will weigh the cathode after suppose 10 minutes, the cathode will be weighing 15 grams, that is initially it was 10. So how much deposition? 15 minus 10. So 5 gram worth of ions had been deposited in a duration of 10 minutes at cathode. Got it? So whatever will be the time, how much, if you increase the time, formula is W is equal to ZIT. If you keep on increasing the time, weight of ion deposition will also keep on increasing. So this is simply Faraday's first law of electrolysis. I hope it is clear to all of you. One more pictorial representation of Faraday's first law. See, we have taken impure copper that copper ore dug out directly from the earth. Okay? Copper ore is directly, suppose copper sulfide it is. So copper is not found in pure form of pure copper in earth. It is formed with, like, in formation of many other compounds like copper nitrate, copper sulfide, copper sulfate. So it is dug out from ore and attached as anode. So it is impure copper. It contains many other ions also, sulfurs, nitrates and chlorides obviously. So it is attached, but we need to take pure copper. So suppose initially we have taken 100 gram anode rod, which is impure copper, 100 gram, and here we have taken 10 gram pure copper. 10 gram of pure copper wire has been attached to the negative terminal of the battery so that it may serve as cathode. Okay, so now when we will connect this switch, when this switch will be connected, then currents will start flowing. Current will start in this direction, positive to negative. So current will flow here. Copper ions will get released in the electrolytic solution, and hence mass of anode rod will keep on decreasing. Mass of anode will resume decreasing. Mass on anode will decrease because ions are being released after oxidation into the electrolytic solution. Now these ions will come at cathode. They will gain 2 electrons and be deposited here. See, you can see the deposition, a slight deposition. So suppose after 1 minute, here 15 gram of pure copper has been deposited, and here we say 20 gram has been released. There is a decrement of 20 gram, or we can say 80 gram of anode is left, 80 gram. So what I said, because anode contains impure, it is an ore of copper. Ore means which contains many minerals alongside copper. So all will not get reduced, only copper will get reduced. Rest of all them will be settled at bottom as impurities, or also known as anode mud. They are also known as anode mud. Got it? So if we'll increase the time from 1 minute to suppose 10 minutes, weight of deposition at cathode will also increase substantially, and weight of anode rod will also decrease rapidly. Got this? So whatever will be the duration of the electrolysis process, weight of ion deposited at cathode will be that much. It is directly proportional. Now if we'll see the definition, weight of ion deposited at electrode is directly proportional to the amount of charge flown through the electrolytic solution. So now you can clearly correlate how it is deposited. And now the concept and definition must be pretty clear. We'll see much more of this in the questions and derivations further in the lecture. Okay, let us further see one more image for depicting the first law of electrolysis. This concept is also discussed in application of electrolysis. Application, like we have impure copper anode and here we have pure copper anode, and after few minutes or after whatever time, whole of the impure anode will be deposited. From impure anode, pure copper concentration will be, all of that will be deposited at cathode, and all the impurities will settle here and they are known as anode mud. Okay, so this is also an application. Purification of metals, purification of metals by electrolytic processes. Okay, we will take one ore of any metal, attach it to positive terminal of the battery so it may serve as anode, so that oxidation occurs from that, and we will attach a simple wire type cathode wire, pure copper, that metal wire, pure dark metal wire, so and attach to the negative terminal, so it may serve as anode, cathode, and so that oxidation, via oxidation those metal ions comes into the solution, released into the solution as ions, and ions will undergo reduction from cathode of pure metal and they will be deposited at pure copper cathode. So whatever, how much longer the duration of the process, the more will be the deposition. And if you want to consume the whole anode rod, we'll take it forever. But we need to know, for industrial production, we need to know for how much time this process or this machinery or current should be passed around. So for Faraday's first law is very helpful in determining that how much ampere of current and for how much duration of time we need to conduct to obtain full metal from our impure sample rod. Okay, so it is very helpful. Suppose in industry we are using 10 amperes, so for how much duration for this 10 kg worth of impure anode or impure sample ore dug out from the earth. So we need to know how much time machinery should be on, and whatever will the electricity cost, is it feasible to obtain, and in what time we are getting that iron metal and it will sell at that price, so we can get the cost of electricity also and machinery also and profit also. For commercial purpose everything is done on for profit basis, so we get very much helpful from Faraday's first law of electrolysis to calculate the margin of profit and all. Okay, that if whether using high voltage, high current is useful or low voltage for longer duration is useful. Obviously, we will use more current, the time duration will be less, and if we will use less current or less volt, the time duration will be more. So we need to find out a balance between current and time, so that we may get maximum yield and cheapest price possible. So this is the advantage of Faraday's first law. Now let's see Faraday's second law of electrolysis, and then we will do a derivation of both for numerical purposes. Okay, so Faraday's second law of electrolysis states that when same quantity of electricity, if the image is not clear in this one, then we'll take a look at the second image. See, when same amount of electricity is run through different electrolytes, the masses of different ions liberated at electrodes are directly proportional to their chemical equivalent. Chemical equivalent. Now what is equivalent? It is the simplest ratio of atoms, molecules or ions, simplest ratio. Like in one molecule of water we have one equivalent of H plus and one equivalent of OH minus. So what it is saying, if we are passing same electricity through different solutions, then the masses of different ions, or you can say in simple language, this masses of different ions or weight of ion deposited at cathode is directly proportional, are proportional in their ratio of their equivalents. Now this concept may not seem easy, as you may or may not be familiar with the concept of equivalence, that is to be taught in mole concept in chapter 1, or later on extended in a chapter equilibrium, ionic equilibrium, with much more detail. So if you are thorough with those chapters, you might understand this definition very well, but if you are not thorough with these, then we'll have to see them in detail. So first of all, let me teach you about equivalent. What is equivalent? So see, equivalent is found the number of moles into valency factor. Now what is valency factor? Suppose we have K2SO4, so valency factor of this salt is 2. Now valency factor is either total positive charge or either total negative charge you have to calculate. So total positive charge here is +2 and total negative charge is -2. That is why net charge on this molecule is 0, +2 and -2. Got it? For H2SO4 also it is 2. Valency factor is 2. So 1 mole of H2SO4 will contain, mole into valency factor, 2 equivalents of H2SO4. This means it is 2 equivalents of H2SO4. Got this? 1 mole of NaCl will contain 1 mole of NaCl only. Sorry, 1 mole nahi, 1 equivalent beta. Why? Because 1 mole NaCl, valency factor of NaCl is 1 only. HCl also it is 1. Total positive charge and total negative charge, either the total positive charge and only the magnitude we have to calculate for valency factor. We have to consider only the magnitude beta. So only the magnitude has to be considered. So 1 mole NaCl or 1 mole or HCl or ammonia. Okay, ammonia valency factor is 1. Tell me, you need to comment on that. If valency factor of ammonia is how much? Okay, you did a lot, note your first homework also. What is the valency factor of ammonia? Okay, so I hope equivalent concept somewhat is clear. It is much deeper in that, but we cannot discuss that in this here. Whatever is required, I have told you. So see what it is saying, when same quantity of electricity is passed through different electrolytes, the mass of different ions liberated at the electrodes are directly proportional to their chemical equivalence. In mathematical expression, you can say weight of ion deposited is directly proportional to equivalent. And when we'll remove this, it becomes Faraday. F we take as proportionality constant into E. Okay, where F is known as Faraday's constant. And its value is taken to be 96500 coulombs for 1 Faraday. 96500 coulombs for 1 Faraday. Okay. So according to second law of electrolysis, we can say that W is equal to Fe, where F is Faraday's constant and E is equivalent of that respective metal ion. Okay, then we will see in detail also. So from here, from the mathematical relation of second law of electrolysis, that is W is proportional to E. W is proportional to E, or we can say is if we take 1 Faraday and or W is equal to Fe, and if we consider value of Faraday to be 1, if we take 1 Faraday, then W will be equal to E. And this W can be written as from first law of electrolysis at ZIT. So equivalent is ZIT, combining first and second law. ठीक है. On combining both the laws of electrolysis, we get this final relation that equivalent is equal to ZIT. I hope got it. Now according to second law of electrolysis, W is equal proportional to E, as same quantity of electricity is passed through different electrolytes. The masses of different ions liberated at the electrodes are directly proportional to their chemical equivalence or equivalent. So when we remove the proportionality sign, we get constant, that is known as Faraday constant. Now if we take Faraday constant to be 1, then W is equal to V, that is weight of ion deposited will be equal to its equivalent weight, and then weight can be represented at, according to first law of electrolysis, as ZIT also. Got it? I hope this is all clear. Now suppose if we are comparing any two solutions like this AgNO3 solution and this copper sulfate solution. So here we will get one equivalent of Ag plus Ag, and here we will get one equivalent of copper, and here we will get one equivalent of H2. Okay, one equivalent. So whatever will the weight deposited, if we compare only two beakers or two electrolytic solution, so weight of first, whatever will be the weight deposited in this, and whatever will be the weight deposited in this will be equal to equivalent weight of silver and equal to equivalent weight of copper. So W1 will be equal to, W1 is equal to E1, and similarly W2 will be equal to E2. So we can compare this in the same ratio, as IT and IT will get cancelled. See, in case of weight we can write Z1 IT, and in case of W2 we can write Z2 IT. Now since the amount of electricity passed is same, so current and duration will be same. So simply formula will come out to be Z1 upon Z2. Okay, formula we will get is final Z1 upon Z2 equals to E1 upon E2, which is to be used in our numericals, for solving numericals. Okay, so this is all mathematically expressed, first and second law combined. Now let's see a more description of second law of electrolysis furthermore. Okay, I hope you all have noted this down. Now see, again three solutions. First one is dilute H2SO4, second one is dilute copper sulfate aqueous, and third one is aqueous AgNO3. Now when we have, suppose 1 ampere of current is passed for 10 minutes, 1 ampere is passed for 10 minutes. So whatever will be the weight of ion deposited, hydrogen liberated at cathode, copper deposited at cathode in this solution, and silver deposited at cathode will be equal in equivalence. Same amount of electricity passed through different electrolytic solutions, so weight of ion deposited at electrodes is directly proportional to their chemical equivalence. So suppose here one equivalent of hydrogen is released, because it is a gas, so we will observe bubbles. One equivalent of copper is deposited and one equivalent of silver is deposited. Okay, so they are directly proportional to their equivalence. So all are equal in equivalent concept because same amount of electricity is passed through them. But what, their weight will also be similar? No, their weight will not be similar, because one equivalent of hydrogen will weigh, so we will find out we should know this formula, that equivalent weight is equal to atomic weight upon valency factor, beta. Note this also, that equivalent weight is equal to atomic weight upon valency factor. So hydrogen is a molecule, H2 is a molecule, so here we can also take, if molecule is there, then molecular weight upon valency factor. So for hydrogen, weight of ion deposited will be, tell me, hydrogen weighs 2 gram and valency factor of H2 is also 2. One hydrogen पे 1 H plus, it loses 1 electron, 2 hydrogen will lose 2 electrons, so total positive charge is 2. So equivalent weight of hydrogen is 1 gram. Equivalent weight of copper is, tell me, can anybody tell me equivalent weight of copper? Atomic weight of copper is 63.5 by 2, so this comes out to be 31.25 grams. And here equivalent weight of silver, this is simple. Atomic weight of silver upon valency factor, and valency factor of silver is 1 only beta, Ag plus. So 108 by 1, that is 108 gram. So in this case, atomic weight, since valency factor is 1, atomic weight will be equal to molecular weight only, or equivalent weight will be equal to molecular weight, sorry. Equivalent weight and molecular weight are similar when valency factor is 1. Okay? Clear? So see, let's now see the concept, second law, that equivalent deposited is same, because same amount of electricity is passed through all these three solutions, but their weights are not same. Okay, because obviously every element has its own unique weight. So 1 mole of sodium weighs differently from 1 mole of potassium. Obviously 1 mole of sodium weighs differently from 1 mole of beryllium or barium. So every element, but their numbers will be same. This is the simple concept which is taught very well in first chapter, mole concept. If you are not clear with this, you can see my mole concept lectures on YouTube also. Okay, so you will be clear what I am talking about, because I have explained that in details, but this not to be discussed here. Class 12 chapter, and all that elementary stuff is already discussed in detail. So we will only talk in terms of equivalents and moles only. So if you are not clear with this, you should obviously revise your equivalent concept and mole concepts. So number of equivalents will be same, because same amount of electricity is passed through same duration, but their weight deposited will be different. So this is practically what Faraday's second law tells us about, or explains us, is trying to explain us about in simple words. And a mathematically derivation we have seen earlier. Now in simple words it is this. I hope this is clear. Okay, so before concluding this lecture, let's see one simple numerical based on Faraday's law. Now, the question says, calculate mass of aluminium produced in Hall process on passing a current of 2000 ampere for 1 hour. And atomic weight of aluminium is also given, but we should know the atomic weights of all elements. Here it is given, that is 27. Now see what we have to find. We have to find mass. Mass means weight of aluminium. So weight, and what else is given? First we'll write whatever is given in the question. So that makes our what we have to find and which formula to use is quite simple. What is given? First we are provided with current. Current is 2000 amperes. Okay, students. So current is 2000 amperes and time is also given. Time is 1 hour, but I told you to take it in seconds. So in seconds we need to convert. 1 hour contains 60 minutes and each minute contains 60 seconds. So we will continue like this. 60 into 60, we'll put it like this because we have to take ratio. So something might get cancelled. So now the expression weight. What is the expression to find? Weight upon equivalent weight is equal to IT upon F. So see, whatever is given we will replace it with that. So weight we have to find, equivalent weight will be atomic weight upon equivalent weight. I told you already, equivalent weight is atomic weight upon valency factor, and aluminium has a valency factor of 3. So 27 by 3, and I is 2000 amperes and T is 60 into 60 upon F is 96500 coulombs. Okay, so this comes out to be weight is equal to, simply we will take 2000 into 60 into 60 into 9. 9 will come from here, 3 9s are upon 96500 coulombs. So you need to calculate this, and that will be the weight deposited of aluminium on cathode, in this case when 2000 amperes is passed for 1 hour. Calculate this everybody without the use of calculators, because if you are practicing for JEE and NEET, we need not be provided with our calculators. We are not allowed calculators. So this comes out to be, hopefully if you will calculate it right, 333.33 grams. Okay, so see another numerical with just this relation that we have derived using both the laws of electrolysis. Okay, so it is of utmost important, and the basic and the bottom line of this chapter of this lecture also is this mathematical expression which involves both the laws, which we have derived using both the laws of electrolysis. So I hope Faraday's law of electrolysis is a bit clear. You should read from their textbooks and your reference books the theory part and this relation if you get it, and else from tomorrow we will practice many more numericals on this concept, so it will be loud and clear and well set in your mindset. Okay, so I hope this lecture was clear. I hope you enjoyed it, this learning concepts along with a bit. I hope I had made it a bit clear to you, much more easier to grasp, and my explanation was apt for you all. Okay, then thank you and have a safe day.